that we need to get down. Dates, sorry, not notes, dates. So I sent you guys, you all didn't really get it, but your parents got it. It was an email that I sent your parents on Thursday. Did I send it to you guys?
Yeah.
Okay, I can't remember if I did or I didn't. But it's got really important dates on it, and these dates are basically like a checklist of what's left this year. Okay, I've told you what's left. I've told you that we have to do certain things this year before our year is going to be complete. But now you have dates attached to these things. So I know we haven't made jobs for today, but who was my boards person last week? Who was it? You were, Hallie. Will you go ahead and like step up to the board for just a quick second and write these dates down in the math section? Or wait, who was homework? Who was homework? You were homework. Okay, so Olivia's going to take care of writing this as we kind of go through. So the first important date that you need to kind of know is May 19th. So I don't know how you want to put this in your assignment notebook. I don't know if you want to go to May 19th or if you want to go to the day before, okay? Which would be May 18th. I don't know. So the 19th is a Wednesday. So if you want to put it in there maybe the day before, it's like a reminder, okay? So Olivia put May 19th, last math test of the year. Okay?
You said math or math?
Math, M-A-T-H. So on the 19th of May, we are going to take our very last math test of this school year, okay? Which is kind of exciting, right?
Yes.
But what it's going to cover are 3 major skills. This is what you guys are aware of. Now, Libby, you don't have to write this part, okay? But just kind of hang there for a sec. So here today, we're going to start learning one of them, and that's dividing fractions and mixed numbers. We're going to learn how to do that today. It feels like a lot of information, but you're going to see here in just a couple of minutes that this stuff is not that tough. So it's going to be pretty easy for us to knock that out. The second thing that's going to be on that test is multiplying decimals. And then the last topic is dividing decimals. So those 3 skills are the last 3 skills that we really have to cover this year. And I'm going to shove all of those skills into one final test of the year. And that's going to take place on May 19th. Any questions on that first date? No. Okay. Next date that's important for math. May 24th and 25th.
Can we get to 23rd?
If you want, you could go to the day before that, which would be, well, the 23rd is going to be a Sunday. So you could go to that Friday before, which would be 21st. Okay. Yes. So on the 24th and the 25th, so you can put this in the math section, maybe on your May 21st day, you have your end of year math test. Okay. That's the thing that you are going to be tested over that covers all 7 months of math stuff that you've learned this year. You will not get a grade on that, okay? So this is something that is needed for your 6th grade teachers. They need to see the progress that you have made from when you started 5th grade to when you ended 5th grade. So if you don't do well on it, I don't want you to freak out and panic. It's not going to hurt your math grade for this year. It's just going to help the 6th grade teachers, and it's going to help Miss Sims, and it's also going to help me to see the progress that you've made. It'll also help you to see that. I mean, you're going to be able to kind of look at it and go, wow, I learned a lot this year. I didn't realize that I learned that much during those 7 months of school, okay? Now, why is it set for 2 days? Why do you think, Xander?
It's like 50 questions.
It's a long test. And some of us in here struggle to finish one test that only has like 15 problems on it in one day. So what I've chosen to do is take this test and slice it in half. Okay? So on the 24th, which is a Monday, and we typically don't take tests on Mondays, but this particular Monday we have to. We're going to take the first part. 25 questions.
Isn't the rest of that week
Okay.
probably like?
Well, I'm getting to that. So on Monday, you'll take half of it. So your goal on Monday is to finish 25 questions, okay? Tuesday, the 25th, is to complete the second part, the other 25. So that by the time Tuesday ends, you have completed all 50 questions. Now, what happens if you don't complete those 50? Will I be able to give you extra time in other classes to do it? No, I will not. So if you are unable to finish, those questions that you don't finish, unfortunately, will just get marked wrong. But that also is good information for those sixth grade teachers. Or if you're going to a new school, it's good information for the new teachers at your new school. Because they need to know if you are able to finish a test in the time that it's given. It's kind of like the MAPS test. When you don't get to take the MAPS test in a bunch of different class periods to get it done, you have to finish it in the time that they give you. So if you are unable to finish it, that's helpful information too. Because then it helps teachers to see this student can get them right, but it takes them a really long time to finish. Where this student over here can get them all right and gets them done when it's supposed to be finished. Connor, let's sit still and focus. Okay, so do you see how that there could be a difference between those two students? Student A can get them all right, but it takes them a very long time to get it right. Student B can get them all right, and they get them all right fast. The difference in those two students is pretty big. Because if we maybe make, travel groups next year, which I don't know if we will, you don't want to be a student stuck in a class that's moving really fast if you can't move that fast, right? So sometimes that stuff helps us to get information also, all right? So that's that week. Now, Brady was going to ask me, isn't that the last week of school? Yes, that's the last week of school. So the 24th and the 25th, we are going to take that end of the year test. It's going to have all of the math we've done this year on it. Wednesday, which is the very next day, is field day. Okay? Thursday is the last day of school. And Friday, I won't see you again. Okay? So, that is that week. So that's why I have no other time to give you to finish things. Unless you want to not do field day to finish your math. I can't. You could. What?
I'm gonna finish the test on the day of my sister's birthday. It's also Mason's birthday.
Yeah. Happy birthday. That's my birthday gift to you.
And you said Thursday.
All right. Yes. Okay. Now, last date that you need to know is not related to math. Those are the only two math dates that you need to know. Is when your end of the year test is going to be and when the last math test of this year is going to be. Okay? And Olivia's already put those up there on our homework board. So the last date that you need is in relation to religion. Okay? We have one final test we have to take in religion this year. And that's going to be over chapter 14. We haven't started that chapter yet, so we will finish it. You know the chapters don't take long to knock out. I will make it an open book, open note test so that you don't have to stress yourself out over these last couple of weeks of school with religion, okay? But chapter 14, so I know we don't really have a religion section, you'll just have to put it on the outside. Yeah, that test is going to happen on May 12th. May 12th. So May 12th is chapter 14 religion test. And you can tell yourself it's going to be an open book, open note test. Okay. Chapter May 12th. May 12th. Bless you. And that's it. So there's your checklist. That's the date. So now it's written up there. So if you're one of those people that likes to kind of see what's left, you can mentally mark it off once we've done it, and we'll see how much closer to the end we're getting. So not only are we counting down, but we are also, thanks Olivia, that's all I need you for, babe. Nah, it's okay. But you're also seeing, like, academically, what are the things that I still have left to do, okay? I know you all want to kind of just say, please let this year be done. Please don't give us any more homework. Please don't give us any more tests. But unfortunately, none of your teachers can do that. The end of the year is the hardest part for everybody. It's the hardest part for me, and it's the hardest part for you. Because I still have stuff that I need to give you, and you still have stuff that you need to learn. And right now, we are all itching to be done, right? And so it's hard to stay focused and stay committed when we just want to be finished. But I try to kind of preparing you. We don't have much left. It's not a whole lot we still have left to do. So don't give up yet. All right? What?
With 19 days, should we have like only 3 weeks left?
No, it's 4. It's 4. Yeah.
It's just days that's not going to be in today.
Well, if we count today, it's 20.
Yeah.
Okay. So but we can. All right, so let's move on. So now your assignment notebook is done. You have all those important dates in there. You can now put that thing away. Just stick it somewhere. You're not gonna take it back out to, stick it back in your backpack or wherever you put it or in your desk. But now you have that stuff that you need for what's left, okay? Now I need to get the notebook out. So now we're ready to go into what today's gonna be about. And we've already lost a lot of minutes already, just because we had to get all that stuff down. But, so if you're one of those people who has organized notes and you're already learning to do that, pat yourself on the back because you are starting to create very good habits. If you are one of those people whose notes just look like, a calculator barfed on your paper, then that's not good. Not good at all. Okay? Because first off, when things are so messy, you can't locate quickly what you need. And I will tell you that Miss Stangieri, I don't think does this, but Miss Coley will let you use your notebook for every test and every quiz when you get to 7th grade. So if your notebook looks like a calculator was in a tornado, then your notes are not going to help. You need to make sure that the stuff that you're trying to find is easy to find. So like when I give you example problems, if this is the sheet of paper that you're working on in your notebook, and I give you an example problem, I shouldn't see your example problem just sitting here in the middle of the paper with splashes of stuff all over. But for some of you, that's what I see. That's not organized. There's a reason why I stand up here and lay my notes out in a way, because I expect you to then recreate that in your notebook. Lay it out the same way in your notebook. Because I let some of you all use your notes. Actually, I let all of you use your notes last week when you took your multiplication quiz. I said, get your notes out, use them. And for some people, it was not helpful at all. Because their notes were so messy, they couldn't even make sense of what was in there. All right? So as we get into new stuff, and we get into this last little chapter that we're in, let's make things look a little better than we ever had before this year, okay? So if you want to title this thing by chapters, this is like chapter, because we're putting a bunch of chapters together, 9, 12, and 13, okay? We are going to take the 3 skills that are in each chapter and learn how to do them in just a couple of days. The book breaks down the skill in all these little bitty tiny mini skills. I'm going to just teach you how to do the big thing all at once. So today, our topic of learning is dividing fractions. If you looked up chapter 9 in your book, which you don't have a book, but if you had a book, it would say chapter 9, dividing fractions. So they would expect me to teach you in this chapter how to divide fractions. And if we had time, they wanted me to teach you these little tiny mini lessons so that at the very end of the chapter, you knew how to divide fractions. I say, skip the mini lessons. You people are smart. Let's just go to the stuff that we need to know. We need to know how to divide fractions, so let's do it, okay? So to divide fractions, there is 3 steps. I take that back. There's actually 4 steps. Okay. All right. So what are they? And these are important. So please make sure that these things, what thing? Oh, yeah. So please make sure that you keep these things neat so that when you take your test on that May 19th, the last math test of the year, and I say you can use your notes for help, you people have easy notes that you can read to help them, okay? So step number 1 is the thing that most people forgot when they did their multiplication test. And that is, you must change mixed numbers to what? Brady? You must change a mixed number to an improper fraction. And I'm going to put the word first in big, fat letters. Because some of you didn't do that when you did your multiplication of fractions test. You forgot that part.
You said first, but I was writing mixed, so I put verse. Verse.
Step 1, and literally probably the most important one, you have to change mixed numbers to improper fractions first. Now, how do you do that? So right next to this step, we're going to put, right next to it, we're just going to put a tiny little example. So that if you are kind of one of those people who's in the middle of a test, and all of a sudden your brain just goes, bang, and you can't remember anything. Does that ever happen to you?
Yes.
Okay. So if your brain is like all of a sudden just fire, it just got set on fire and you can't remember anything, you can use that notes and you can go, oh, yeah, that's what I do. So Tessa, let's say that the mixed number was 4 2/3. And you have to change this thing to an improper fraction. What would you do, Tessa?
You would do the backwards seed.
Okay, which means?
You would multiply 4 and 3.
Yeah.
And then add 2.
Thank you, Tessa. So we're going to kind of put our little example there so that if you need to use this formula, you need to look at these steps for help, you have that little example there. And you're like, oh, yeah, that's what I do. So Tessa, 4 2/3 would turn into? 14 over 3. So Tessa, what if we have those people in here and everybody needs to listen to this? What if we have those people in here and they're like, but that's an improper fraction and I'm supposed to simplify improper fractions. What would you say to them?
It would turn back to the same thing.
Yes. It would turn right back into the same thing. Okay? So you wouldn't do anything to it. You would leave it as 14 over 3. Our goal here, our mission for the very first step is to change the mixed number to an improper fraction. So if I just achieved that goal by getting 14 over 3, why would I take it back to a mixed number? Would you?
No.
Never. You did. You made it to your goal. So move on to step 2. Okay? So what is step 2? Step 2. This is where it becomes different than what multiplication was. So what is it, Shane?
Keep the first fraction.
Yep. We're going to keep. Then what are we going to do, Shane?
Change the division sign to the multiplication sign.
Then we're going to change. And the last thing we're going to do is?
We're going to flip the second fraction.
Nice. Then we're going to flip. So we're going to remember that step 2 is just to keep, change, flip. And here in a second, we're gonna do that. Shane knows exactly what that means. He already told us. Some of the rest of you already also know what this means. But I'm gonna do one together just to make sure everybody gets it. But that's step 2, okay? All right, if there's 4 steps, that means there's a step 3. Anybody wanna take a guess at what step 3 could be? Yeah?
You have to simplify fractions.
Nice, Max. We're gonna simplify before we multiply.
Wait, why?
Nope. Nope.
No, there's something else.
That's right. No, I did not make an error. That should not say division. It should say simplify before you multiply. And then the 4th and final step, because there's 4. So Addison, what's our 4th and final step? What do you think? If you were a teacher, what would you tell them?
Then I just multiply.
Yeah, multiply what's left. Multiply what's left. And then I'm gonna kind of put some dots and say, simplify again if needed, okay? Oopsies. Hang on just a sec. Okay,
It's weird.
there's your 4-step formula.
It's weird to think that we're doing division, and those are all the 4 steps.
Uh-huh,
The 2 things that you find your answer.
involves multiplying. Yep. Now, if a recipe's good, it tells you exactly what to do. If a recipe's not good, then it doesn't tell you what to do. Like if I wanted you all to make some peach cobbler, you might need a recipe to know how to do that. So a good recipe, you would pull out and you would follow exactly step 1, 2, 3, 4, and however many steps there were, so that you could have the most delicious peach cobbler that anybody has ever made. If it doesn't turn out tasty, and if it turns out nasty, what might somebody do to that recipe? Maybe do what? Throw it away. Because it didn't work. But if you liked what the end result was, and you followed the recipe, and you did everything that it said, and at the very end, it was delicious, what would you do with the recipe? Keep it. Okay? So the goal of this math recipe is to get you to the final answer. If you get the right answer, which I'm telling you, if you follow these steps, you will. If you get the right answer, you will love this recipe. Nobody should throw this recipe away, because I will tell you that it's going to get you to the answer you need. But if you don't follow the steps, you're not going to get what you need. Yes, Brody, what?
I think I needed that step 4 on my test.
Well, do you remember how I said everybody could use their notes? You should have had that step in your formula for multiplication too. Because there's only one step, honestly, in this whole formula that's different. What's the only one that's different, Brayden? Huh? Keep chain flip. If you look up your formula for multiplying fractions, you will see step 1, 3, and 4 are there. The only thing I've added is that second step, okay? So now let's look at what this thing looks like. All right, so now it's time to practice. So we're gonna actually come down here and we are going to, let me hide this little thing, it's in my way. We are going to kind of extend our page a little bit and we are gonna put an example. So here we go. So your notes are gonna stay organized. You're not gonna have this example like just right in the dead center of your notebook, okay? And we're gonna use this recipe for help. Yes? So let me grab my book because sometimes problems that involve division are not as easy to just make up as ones that are multiplied. Okay, so friends, here we go. Let's try this one first. Let's do 4/5 divided by 3. Okay? Now, for this particular problem, our mission is to get fractions on both sides of the division sign, right? And you have already been taught on multiple occasions, multiple days, how to turn a whole number into a fraction. So James, what will I do to that whole number to make it a fraction?
Put a 1 on there.
That's it. That's not super tough stuff, okay? Now I have a fraction divided by a fraction, and that's where I want to be, okay? So let's check out step 1. What does step 1 say to do? It says you must change mixed numbers to an improper fraction. In my example, do we have any mixed numbers? So can we skip step 1?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Let's move on to step 2. Step 2 says to keep, change, flip. All right? So what does this mean? This is the new step. This is the thing we're trying to figure out what exactly it's talking about. So I hope everybody's paying attention. Let's do this. Hallie, keep. Keep goes with what part of my problem here? It goes with the first fraction that's listed. And keep means don't change it, right? So if the fraction started out as 4/5 and I'm supposed to keep it, then I'm going to keep it as a 4/5. That's easy, right? The next word is change. What part of my problem does change go with, Hallie? Nice. It goes with the sign. So this word's telling me I got to change my division sign. What am I going to change it into? Hallie? Multiplication. So that's why that step, when it said to multiply, it wasn't wrong. It's because I'm changing this problem into a multiplication problem. And then the last thing, which is 3/1, it says, Hallie, to flip. Flip means what?
Means that you change the 1 to go over above
No, I'm just going to reverse it. Instead of the 3 being on the top and the 1 being on the bottom, I'm going to flip it. And I'm going to put 1 on the top and 3 on the bottom. That's step 2. And that's what keep, change, flip means. All right, did I lose anybody there? Promise? Okay. Now I'm going to challenge your brain a minute. It's been a couple of days, but I think at some point I introduced you to a fancy math word that means when you flip something. In the math world, it really has a different name. What is it? I'm going to give it to you. Don't get a piece of candy. Reciprocal. It's called the reciprocal, okay? So what I want you to do is kind of right outside here, this is where you're teaching yourself and you're putting some notes. When we flip that fraction in the math world, it's called the reciprocal, okay? And I want you to know that word. I want you to get comfortable with that word. Because tonight I'm going to give you a tiny little activity that you're going to do in your workbook. And if we have time here in a minute, I'm going to let you get into it. But reciprocal is going to be in your notes tonight, on that page.
And that just means flip.
Just means flip. Okay? So where we say keep, change, flip, in the math world, they say keep, change, reciprocal. Okay? But it makes it a lot easier to say keep, change, flip. But reciprocal simply means flip it. Have I lost anybody yet? All right, let's move on to step 3. Step 3 then says simplify before you multiply. Okay, so I'm going to look at what I got. I got a 4 and I got a 3. Can I simplify anything there? No. Now, I will tell you, I had some people, I'm losing some of you, so this is what happens. It takes me time to get through my lesson, and I have people that just start falling apart. And then that's what happens on your test and your quiz. You start doing all the problems at the beginning right, and then towards the end, you just fall apart. You just gave up, you stopped paying attention. Okay, so I had people on the test when they were looking at the 4 and the 3, and I said, tell me, do they have any factors in common? And I had them say, yeah, they have a 12. Now listen, what did they do? Xander,
They multiply the two numbers.
they did. They gave me the product they have in common. I didn't say what product do 4 and 3 have in common. I said what factor. So that means they have to think to themselves, what are the numbers that can be multiplied together to get 4? And the only things that can be multiplied together to get 4 is a 2 times a 2 and a 4 times a 1. If I think about that same thing with the number 3, what factors can I multiply to get a 3? The only thing I can multiply to get a 3 is a 3 times a 1. Because what kind of number, people, is a 3? It's a prime number. Okay? So, now I notice inside each of my clouds, they don't have a number in common except for what number?
No, the one.
And is that going to change anything?
Not really.
No. So that means they have no common factors. So 4 and 3 have to stay. What about 1 and 5? What do they have in common? Can you at least make it look like you're listening with me? Dominic, what do I do with those?
They do not have any common factors.
They do not, so they have to stay. So step 3 that says to simplify before you multiply, I can skip that step also because there's nothing to do. So now I'm ready for step 4. Multiply what's left. All right, so what's left? I have a 4 and a 1. What does that turn into when I multiply those, everybody? 4. I have a 5 times a 3. 15. And then at the very end of that last step, it says simplify again if needed. Do I need to simplify this thing again? No. 4 15s is already in simplest form. So that's your final answer. Now, some of you got to that answer a long time ago.
Yes.
And that's great. But we have to remember, you're in a classroom with 25 other people in it with you. So if you were able to get there, sometimes in life, you've got to be patient and wait for the rest of the people to get there with you. That's the only way that we're all successful. I don't just teach to the 5 people in here that got it really fast. I have to teach to all 25. And some people get it quick, and some people need a little more time. So you have to be respectful of those people and not rude. And that is all through body language. Okay, let's try another one. So that one I walked through with you. This one you're going to do without me. Okay, here we go. Follow your recipe so that you can get to the answer you need. So this is going to be another example. So I'm going to kind of do my example box. What's this, Weeks? Please don't. Here we go. Ready? 5/8 divided by 2. Colin, what'd you get?
5, 6.
Perfect, 5/16. Where's all my 5/16s out there? Sweet, nice job, okay? Let's crank it up a little bit with difficulty, okay? So now instead of just dividing a fraction and a whole number, let's do a fraction and a fraction, okay? All right, here we go. So, another example, and I'm kind of jumping space here, all right? Another example would be, let's go with, we'll make this one up. Let's go with 12/7 divided by 3/4. I personally haven't even worked, I just made this one up, it's not in the book, so we're gonna kind of work it, I'm gonna work it out to the side. So 12/7, this is what should be going on through your steps. So you should keep the first one, change the second one to a division, to multiplication, and then flip 4/3. So did you get to that section? Okay, we don't have to do step 1, because we didn't have any mixed numbers. So we just had to go right on to step 2, keep, change, flip, okay? Now we have to look for things they have in common, simplify before you multiply. Addison, what things share?
12 and 3 share both 3.
Yeah, they do, so what would they become?
They would become 1 and 4.
Perfect. When you move on to step 4, multiply straight across, what do you have left?
16/7.
Perfect. And then simplify again. Do you have to on this one?
No. Wait, actually, yes, you got
Yes, because it's improper, right? So 16/7, we can't leave it that way, so we have to simplify this thing. So what's it gonna become, do you know? 7 goes into 16, how many times?
goes into 16.
2 times. What do you have left?
You have
I'm challenging,
2
good, I'm challenging you to do this in your head.
and then 7.
Perfect. Who got 2 and 2 sevens?
The first time I did it, I did the 3 and the 4. I didn't flip it.
I
forgot to flip
Oh. Now remember, you don't have to tell me where your errors happened. I want you to just kind of see if you can find it yourself. All right, one last one before I leave you, okay? And that's gonna be mixed number divided by a mixed number. Here we go, ready? I'm running out of time, that's why I'm trying to push things along. Okay, here we go, ready? Last one of the day is 4 1/2 divided by 2 and let's go with 2/3. 4 1/2 divided by 2 2/3. I'm gonna work it out. So, what'd you guys get?
12.
1 and 11/16 is what you should have gotten. Okay. All right, so here is our plan, because I gotta get out of here because you have another class. So, page 157 in your workbook has 8 problems at the top that all you have to do is find the reciprocal. We'll look at those for just a second when I come back to religion. And then you have the other 8 are just simply dividing these kinds of things. So, okay? You just have to do page 157 all. Okay? Workbook page 157 all.
What's the answer 1 through 11?
Page 157 all. Okay? All right. Okay. Mason, will you open the door, bud, so that they know I'm finished?